Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 170. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and number one best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. And I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores today. And today I have a very special guest with me, Alyce Bacine. Alyce has been teaching and practicing breathwork for 20 years and incorporates her unique style of breathwork channeled in the Akashic Records to create rapid momentum with all of her clients. In doing so, she uses her personal, powerful connection to spirit to tap into people's energy so that she can help identify what's been holding them back. She helps them to overcome these blocks through breath work, the Akashic Records, and powerful energy healing. And her mission on this planet is to guide people to activate their ascension, live their soul's purpose, and step into the fifth dimension. Alyce has a master's degree in counseling, psychology, and a certification in social emotional learning. Alyce has an extensive background as a school counselor and educator. She's an expert in the field of human development and has created a meditation program for middle school students. Alyce is also a wife and a mom of two, and she can be found at AlyceBreathes.com. And we'll have that information on the show notes. And she also has a Facebook group that you should join called Breathe to Succeed, and also her own Facebook profile, which is Alyce Levy, Levy. And so today, Alyce is going to be sharing some of her insights on the Akashic Records and breath work to make rapid changes in your life. And welcome to the show, Alyce.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here. This is going to be an interesting, very authentic, genuine conversation because, somebody who's been on this spiritual, personal growth journey myself for over the last 25 years and working as a hypnotherapist for the last 22 and doing the law of attraction work. Obviously, my paths have crossed with people who have talked about this Akashic Records thing, and obviously, I've done some breath work and some energy healing work. You can't be in this field without getting familiar with some of these other modalities, but I got to be honest with you. The Akashic Records is kind of something that, like, I've heard of this thing. I've delved into it a little bit, I've heard people talk about it. But I still don't quite know what it is. And so I'm really excited to, it sounds really cool. It sounds like a place that, you can go, I guess, to connect with some of the ascended masters, I guess, who have your whole history of your whole past, present, and future. And it's almost like diving into the psychic realms, I guess. I don't know. So I'm just telling you my brief, very small understanding of it. So I'm hoping that you will be able to dispel any myths or just really clarify how this works, and then also how breath work is going to help cause you to make those rapid changes. So I'm excited to have our conversation today.
Me too. Yeah, I'd love to, clarify and explain the Akashic Records for you if you want to start there.
Let's just go ahead and dive right into that for the
Okay.
people in the audience who maybe is like, what is this Akashic Records? Let's talk about what that is and why we want to why we want to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I actually was only introduced to the Akashic Records last year, and I took a course on how to read them last summer, the summer of 2020. And I immediately, as soon as I entered them for the first time on the first day, I had this really profound experience where I was crying and I felt this outpouring of unconditional love. And I realized that I had actually been accessing the Akashic Records my entire life. I just didn't know it. So it's something that I've been working with for a really long time. And, the way I like to explain it, well, there's a few ways I like to explain it. One is the Akashic Records are essentially a living library of everything that has ever occurred or will ever occur in the universe. And when I tune into someone's Akashic Records, I'm looking at the expansion and evolution of their soul. So what their soul has experienced, what their soul will experience, and what their soul is wanting to step into. And the way that I particularly read the records is the way that I experience it is that I'm tuning into a frequency of information. So it's almost like I'm attuning to a radio station in my energetic field, and I'm able to tap into this frequency of information. And then I'm shown visuals, I have feelings, I hear things. And based on that, I translate that information into words for my client. So I think that everybody who enters the records does it a little differently and receives information a little bit differently. And the type of information they receive is different depending on the person and like what their purpose is and what they're meant to help people with. So for me, one of the biggest pieces of information that I pretty much get for everyone is around their soul's purpose and what they're wanting to expand into next. So like what their soul is wanting to step into at this time. And then the other thing that I always receive is what is the biggest thing that is blocking them at this time from stepping into that next level. And usually it's something around familial or ancestral trauma or some kind of deep core traumatic emotional issue that they need to move through on a deeper level at this time. So that's usually the information I receive. And then I also will receive information about their spirit guides, their like star family, and any kind of guides that want to come through and make themselves known and help them.
Wow. That sounds really, really cool. So you ultimately, and it was interesting because you were tapping into my my own mind because as you were explaining it, I was asking questions and you were like answering them as I was asking. I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to ask that now. I don't need to ask that. I don't need. So, but I do want to clarify. So records, it's a library. So it's a library, and like how. Like when I think of a library, I think here on the physical realm, I think, you walk in and everything's organized. There's a card catalog and you can go in and you can, like check out a book. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit different, the way the records are stored and all of that. So can you kind of help deepen the understanding of like, how did they really define that term records? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just still a little unclear, like what to expect. I mean, and can anybody do this? Can anybody tap into Akashic Records, or do you need special training? How?
So yes and yes, anyone can do it. And it really depends on the level that you're wanting to tune into it as to like the amount of training that you might want to get. There are as little as just reading a book as a way to help you tune into it, and as much as like year-long training programs to learn how to tune into it. So I think it really just depends on your level of what you're interested in doing with the records, whether it's you just wanting to tap into your own records, or you're wanting to read records for other people, or you're wanting to teach it. Like it really just depends on what you're wanting as to the amount of training you might want to have and your level of interest. But as far as like the actual records, the way that I see it is it is information on an energetic level, right? So kind of how I described it as like a frequency, it's literally this idea that everything kind of already exists on an energetic level. So it's just about tapping into the information. So it's like the information is already living in this other dimension, and all we need to do is tap into it. So it's less like, you know, an actual book and more just like I said, it's like a frequency of information that you can tap into and then ask a question and receive the information. And it's really always looking at things from a broader perspective and looking at things from a very truthful perspective. So like the Akashic Records, you'll always receive the truth. And I think that's a really important, why it's such an important tool, because I have gone to the records a lot just to say, like, is this true? Is this true for me? What information can I get about this? Like, so it's really all the information that there is that's just kind of stored at this energetic level for you to tune into. And we all have access to it. I think obviously with everything, there's some people that it's easier for them to tune into than others, but yes, everybody can do it.
That's cool. And so is this similar in some ways to getting a psychic reading? I mean, how would you differentiate between tapping into the Akashic Records, or is this what psychics do without saying that that's what they're doing?
Yes and no. I feel like it is different in some ways. With a psychic reading, I feel like they are more tuned in to kind of like your energy and maybe what's going on in your mind in present time. Whereas an Akashic Records reading, I feel like is a broader perspective of your soul and your soul's purpose, but they do overlap as well, right? Because obviously for me, I've always had very strong psychic abilities, which I feel like has allowed me to tap into the records so easily. So there's definitely an overlap there, but there's definitely some differences as far as just on an energetic level. I feel like the Akashic Records is just much more expansive, and we're looking at things from a different perspective. It's like a broader, higher perspective, I would say, if that makes sense.
It does. And so essentially what you do is you tap into somebody's Akashic Records. You ultimately find out what their purpose is, what their soul's, their life purpose is. Then you figure out what are the blocks that are getting in their way of achieving that. And then the breath work that you do is what helps them to break through those blocks. And so ultimately, the breath work is going to clear the blocks, and they're on their way to doing their life purpose.
Essentially. Yeah, you really put it in a nutshell. Yeah, essentially. So, and when I enter somebody's records, they can always ask me very specific questions. It doesn't always have to be around their purpose, but usually that's what ends up happening, because ultimately everyone is here. And it's not just about having one purpose, right? I think we all have multiple things that we're supposed to do and multiple purposes. I don't think it's necessary. Like, there might be a broader purpose that we have, like, say, raising the frequency of the planet or helping to create change. But then we have like these smaller purposes of like, well, I'm supposed to help women do this, or I'm supposed to write a book about that, or you know what I mean? So, I think it's just more about tuning into what they're wanting to do at this time and how they can most easily get there. And they can always ask anything, like whether it's about relationships or past lives or some challenge they're having in their life right now. And I'll usually be able to get information about that, about like the bigger perspective on that. And then, yes, my breathwork sessions are specifically designed to help people move through specific blocks. So the way I do that is I actually create audio files for people, and I will do them personalized. So depending on what's going on for them, I'll tap into their Akashic records and I will create a breathwork session that's actually an energetic calibration to what they're wanting to step into. So when they listen to that and do the breath work, it actually like recalibrates their energy to step into their next level and release whatever it is they need to release to get there. And then I also give people breathwork sessions around specific topics, like their relationship with their mother, their relationship with their siblings, their shadow, like, you know, stuff like that. So it's just kind of like a whole toolkit for people to use to move through specific things.
Right. Okay, that sounds great. That's awesome. So I'm curious, and I'm just totally putting you on the spot here. Only just out of my own sense of curiosity, but I think that if we were able to do this, it would it would definitely help our audience to understand this even deeper, and possibly arouse a little bit more interest in coming to do this work with you. So my question is, are you able to like kind of like, how long does it take you to tap into these records? I mean, like, is this something you're able to do on the fly easily, like during, like being put on the spot here on this show, on this podcast? Or, like, do you need to take a little time to like get yourself into like a certain space where like we would have to be
No,
quiet, like,
I can do it. I'm always tuned into it. Like I can definitely tap into like your records, or if you have some like it, but it's better if you have like something specific you want to ask me, or else I'm probably just going to get information like you are amazing, like you know what I mean, like
yeah,
stuff that
no,
you
I
probably like.
definitely, I have several topics I could easily rattle off that, I would be curious to know about. So like, you know, definitely I would be curious to get I know exactly what I would ask you. So let me, let me
Okay,
know
let's do it.
if you're receptive for that.
Totally, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So, and should I form it as like I've been having a problem with, or should I just ask you like an open-ended question, and like
Whatever
what do you see
feels
as
whatever feels more comfortable to you. If you want to give me like a little like backstory, that's totally fine. And I'll just tune into it and see what comes through.
okay. All right. So like I feel like so I have this beautiful app, as we talked about at the very beginning. I always introduce, my HypnoCloud app. And the problem has been just really getting a good easy flowing development team,
Mhm.
to that can just bring all the features to life. And it's just been that has been a trouble spot for me for probably ever since I decided that this was going to be my main focus in my business,
Mhm.
and so like the app is growing. It's doing pretty, like I've like literally doubled the subscribers in the last 5 months, which is amazing. And But, the only way I'm going to be able to sustain that growth is with a kick-ass development team that can bring to life all the features that everybody's craving, to get it featured in the app store, to make it everything that it's meant to be, because how it is right now is not anywhere close to my vision. And
Mhm.
so I just have been met with a lot of frustration of developers showing up not being who they represent themselves to be, and kind of screwing things up, and then leaving my app users not very happy with me sometimes. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, obviously I feel like everything happens from within me. Like the development teams that are showing up is happening because of me, right? It's happening because of my energy. Something in me is saying, sure, let's welcome in bad, bad development, like so so I guess that would be my question is like, what is the future of this app? Is it gonna be the, is it going to is it going to be all that I dream of it being? Or is there something
Mhm.
else? Like, is there some reason why I keep running into all these roadblocks?
Yeah. So, okay. So there's a few things that I'm like kind of being shown as you're talking. And this whole thing is really just an opportunity for you to go deeper around like, first of all, what they're showing me really clearly is some story that you have around receiving a deeper level of support, and like what that actually means for you. And they're actually showing me you like letting go. Like it's almost like you were like holding on to like, I guess it would be like the reins, right? Like you're like holding on, and they're showing me you letting go. And they're also showing me like what there's something around you receiving a deeper level of support where it's almost like you have to like sink into a deeper level of trust that you might not be allowing yourself to do at the moment because of like, there's some like, it's like a level of like safety, trust they're showing me. I'm also being shown your mother or like a maternal figure. There might be some like something to work out there to be able to sink into like a deeper level of support and trust, or kind of like exploring a story that you have around being able to receive support in a way that you need. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? Like
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
way that
definitely.
you like in a way that actually works for you. Like maybe you were able to receive support in the past, but it wasn't exactly what you needed. It
Yeah.
might have been partially what you needed, but not exactly what you needed. So there's like something about being able to feel safe enough to open up and receive a deeper level of support. And I'm still being shown like something around your mother. I don't know if it's like your relationship with her or how you felt about the way that she supported you or didn't support you, or like there's something around that relationship that's informing this dynamic that's coming up for you right now that's actually asking you to like heal this on a deeper level, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like on a conscious level, I'm not completely resonating, but for some reason it's making me feel emotional. And,
Mhm.
and it's really weird because these two things feel so unrelated to me. But when you mention my mother, I will say that there's a dynamic going on with a sibling where, she's decided we're not communicating, and
Mhm.
I know yeah, and I feel like for some reason it makes me mad at my mom,
Mhm.
that that she's sort of like letting that happen, and not that she could do anything about it, but you know what I mean? It's like, I guess even when you're in your 50s, you still feel like your mom should be able to protect you
Totally. Yeah.
from things like that. So I don't know, like, so it's really weird because it could be connected. Because anytime you're not allowing yourself to receive something, maybe it is somehow connected. So thank you for
Yeah,
for
and like just
sharing
so
that.
you know too, like all of this stuff is always on a subconscious level. So like sometimes
Yeah.
it might not seem like it's something that's in your everyday reality, but it's something that may be carried from when you were a young child, or even that you took on from a parent as a young child. So it's not, and I don't mean to stir up like all of these emotions in you, but sometimes this is what happens. So
Yeah.
I should have given you a warning.
That no,
But
it's okay. So just to fast forward, like, can you give us an example of the breath work that you would then have, just in it may not completely be like my, I'm not expecting, complete resolution here in this podcast, but just to get, just to give an idea of your work and to show people like, okay, so here's an example of, this obvious block that I'm dealing with here. So what kind of breath work now would you prescribe to somebody who's going through something like that?
So there's two things. For this particular scenario, I have a breathwork session that is specifically around your mother, which I probably would suggest that you do. And I also have targeted journaling prompts that go along with it to just help support you in like processing the emotions that are coming up and even understanding them. So I would prescribe that. And then I also would probably do a personalized breathwork session for you, where I would just literally tune into this energy that I'm tuning into around what this block is. And then I would create a breathwork session that would literally be like channeled, that is based on that. So like, I'm saying stuff that will make sense to your brain, but it's also like an energetic transmission that's happening that's healing you on an energetic level as well. So it's kind of like two things. So it would just be a breathwork session calibrated specifically to this, around like receiving support and healing. Because to me, this feels like it's a deeper childhood dynamic that might be showing up in this thing that's happening now with the app, but also with your sister and your mom. But it's actually a deeper burden or sadness or pain that's being held from childhood. So we would work on clearing that, because once we clear that, then all of that other stuff will just work itself out.
Very cool. Interesting. All right. I love that. Can you guide us through any sort of breathwork routine that you do?
So basically the breath work that I do, it might be better for you to try like I have a free one that's available on my site and in my Facebook group, just because it's the type of thing that you kind of want to do for about 15 or 20 minutes to really like get the effect of it. But it's basically like just conscious connected breathing is the type of breathing that I teach. And I know people teach a ton of different types of breathwork session or breathwork techniques. But for me, what I teach is conscious connected breathing, and it's just literally breathing in and out through the mouth in a circular pattern with no space between the inhale and the exhale. So you're just getting energy moving in and out of the body. And in my audio sessions, I'm just guiding you through not only talking about how to do the breath, but also kind of talking about different things for you to focus on, or reminding you of that you're supported, you're loved, connecting you to the earth, connecting you to your guides, like all of these different things. So I'd say to get like the best experience, I would try that, because you want to kind of lay down and do it for, about 15 or 20 minutes.
Right. And so you're talking about on your website here, if you go to AlyceBreathes.com, that's receive your free next level expansion toolkit. And on that, so you get the, go ahead.
Yeah. If you sign up for that, you'll get an email sent straight to you that has a guided breathwork session, a meditation, and journaling prompts. So
that is amazing. That is a great toolkit. I'm going to get that. And so I would highly encourage anybody who's listening here who wants to get this free toolkit so that you can deeply connect with your intuition, do the meditation, do the journaling, do the breath work. That sounds amazing. But I want to get back to the some of the questions, and then I'll mention that again at the end. So tell us like what it is about the breath work that helps you to make those rapid changes in your life.
Yeah, great question. So the way that I describe it is there's two things happening. One is when we're doing the breath work, we're essentially thrusting ourselves into the present moment, into the quantum field where infinite possibilities exist. So it's more active than meditation, because we're doing the breath, we're really thrusting ourselves into that present moment and into the quantum field. So when you are continuously putting yourself in the quantum field, you begin to naturally just connect with infinite possibility. So all of a sudden, things that you never thought would happen for you, or things you thought might not ever be available to you, will all of a sudden happen because you're regularly connecting with the quantum field. So that's the first thing that's happening. The second thing that's happening is that you start to move energy in the body. And as you move energy in the body, stuck energy starts to move. So old traumas, old patterns, old belief systems of lack and limitation, old ways of looking at things, all of that is holding a chemical signature in your cells. It's living in your body, just waiting to be expressed. So every time we have an emotion and we push it down, it's literally just sitting there in your body, holding an energy, waiting for you to feel it. So when you give yourself the space, all of these emotions and all of this stuck energy comes up for you to feel it. And when you feel it, it dissipates, because that's all it wants, is to be felt, right? That's what an emotion is, energy in motion. If you allow it to move, it goes away. And it really is that simple, but people just don't want to feel it. But once you feel it, it's gone.
It's amazing how, people just, they hold on, literally physically hold on to these emotions. I mean, you'll notice whenever, somebody's stressed or anxious or whatever, you tend to start breathing shallow, and you're just sticking this stuff literally to yourself, so that you're just constantly heavy and weighted down with this emotion that you need to be able to release. And so the breathing, you're saying, helps you to release that.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful tool for that. And I think that's really how people get such rapid momentum, is because they can really clear out a lot of that stuff that's tying them to the past. And as they do that, they're able to make decisions based on present time instead of living in reaction to the past.
Got it. Can you talk a little bit about the shifts that we are seeing right now on the planet? I know I'm kind of going into an entirely different, but we only have an hour here, so or less than. And so we've talked about finding our soul's purpose, the breathwork, the Akashic Records, but all of this sort of ties into the whole planet right now and the shifts that we're seeing, and you talk about that. So I would like to find out a little bit more about what some of those shifts are that we're seeing in the planet.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I think it's generally agreed that the planet is changing, right? And astrologically, it's being shown that there's these major shifts happening. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is a completely different energy than where we were before. So what's happening is that we're seeing that all of these systems that, were once part of our everyday lives on this planet are really not working, they're not functional, and they're not serving anybody. Even the people they were meant to serve, right? Even the elite or the rich people, or whatever you want to call it, they're not even really being served by these systems. These systems are not working. So I think what we're seeing is more and more people understanding that, and it's a dismantling of a lot of these old systems and structures that are no longer serving. And then that's creating the opportunity for new ideas, new ways of being, new ways of engaging with the world, new ways of engaging with each other to really come forward. And I also think that people are really starting to wake up and understand who they really are on a deeper level, and realizing what they're actually capable of, and the power that they have to connect with spirit, to receive information, to be led from a higher place, and not just looking at this world as, well, only what I see is what's real, right? People are really understanding that there is energy, and you can work with energy, and you can create things, and you can tap into other dimensions, and you can talk to interdimensional beings. Like there's all of these things that people are opening up to and realizing that before was not really things, that was not really anything that people were looking at or tuning into. So I think there's so many people that are waking up right now that are saying like, no, like I'm not going to live in this way anymore. I'm going to live differently. And that's why we have so many people like becoming entrepreneurs and living in a way that works for them instead of subscribing to like, oh, well, I have to like, go get a job and do this or whatever, whatever it is. People are actually realizing like, oh no, I can actually do what makes me happy instead of what I'm supposed to do. So I think there's a lot of different shifts that are happening, and they all start on an individual level, which is why I feel so strongly about helping people clear their trauma, because what's really happening as well on the planet is we're seeing a collective clearing of trauma, because we've endured many, many thousands of years of trauma, if not more, on this planet. And, I think, first of all, there has to be an acknowledgement of that, which I think is starting to happen, and then people really beginning to heal it. And I think that that has to start on an individual level. So that's why I feel so passionately about helping people do that, and also helping people awaken to what their gifts are and their abilities, because the more and more people that do that, the more the planet is going to shift.
Yes. And it's so needed right now for people to just be able to like tap into this evolved way of thinking about things. We can't keep living the same way that we've always lived, or thinking along the same lines that we've always all been thinking, because the only way that we evolve as a species and as a planet is for us to each individually do the work and see what's there and evolve our own minds and our own way of thinking. And so that's you advocate people all being able, not just you with tapping into the Akashic records for people, but people actually being able to connect to their own psychic abilities.
Yes, definitely. I feel really strongly about that, because I feel like that is the way that we change things on this planet, is to help everyone. And I mean, obviously there's going to be people that are more interested than others in that, right? I think there's other people that are here for different reasons, that are here to create solutions to the problems that we have, or they're here to help create new systems, or they're here to like build things or work or whatever. I think everyone has a different role to play, but I also feel like there's so many people who came here to really help change things, and bringing those abilities online and realizing our connection to spirit and how powerful that is a huge way that we shift things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, and we don't have time to waste. We all,
Yeah.
we have such a limited amount of time on this planet. And, if we're going to leave some sort of lasting impact, it's time for people to really do that work to wake themselves up, and, to ultimately to do what they were meant to do, to
Exactly.
live the life that they were meant to live. And so this has all been extremely enlightening. Do you have anything else that you'd like to just kind of like leave our audience knowing? What would be sort of like your wrap up statement, your last kind of call to action here for people to help them, to encourage them to tap into their power and who they're meant to be and their soul's purpose?
Yeah, I would definitely say to trust yourself. And if you are drawn to something, take that as your sign, take that as your information. If you feel drawn to something, listen to that and move in that direction. Don't question it, and just continue to sink into a deeper level of trust with yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest here today. And once again, I just want to remind our listeners to go to your website, which was AlyceBacine.com. And I'm going to spell that. It's ALYSE. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Let
it's
me
Alyse Breathes.
redo that. AlyceBreathes.com. So ALYSEBreathes.com. Okay, you can just go there, or you can just click it up, click from YouTube or the show notes wherever we have this, and get that free toolkit to deeply connect with your intuition and the meditation, the breath work session, the journaling prompts. I'm going to do that myself. It sounds amazing. And I think it'll help you to ultimately evolve and tap into your soul's purpose and take the next step.
Yeah.